This is called stalking in the path, and this is a demon. Okay, as I walk out of my office, you have somebody just like Vanessa Drees was in the white SUV, light in the path while the group stalker's in the laundry room. Light in the path coming on. This is lying in wait conduct by a demon who is engaging in what is crossing path on the property. And those are the same demons you saw group stalking while the entity had engineered light over me on the ceiling inside of unit 1803. And while Center for Better Life covered this building with engineered light, those are the same Latinos affiliated with Nova Contractors, who's going to be civilly and criminally prosecuted, while those same criminals return to engage in group stalking with the same corrupt law enforcement agency, which is the state of California, LAPD. All right, and you're looking at what is the pattern. I took a picture of what was light. This is a demon stalking in the path with light in the image that I took. Vanessa Drees' daughter is affiliated with those third parties, just for purposes of namesake. It's all the people of the state. And in the path is, for crossing a path, is this demon in the laundry room. This is P.O.C. right now. While I walk outside to walk around to the laundry room, you have somebody that's in the path with light. So I just want to document that. Oh, good morning. There's no lights on in here? Hi, how's it going? No lights on, okay. Thought it looked a little dark in here. There we go. Have a good day, everybody. Stalking in the path, engaging in what is surveillance in the laundry room. The entity is acting together with regard to the elements for monitoring light and relevant positioning. And as I walk outside, the entity that's tracking your every step, this is what the entity does in helicopter, tracking my steps, maintaining the elements of monitoring. And this is through a commercial actor, and they're going to federal prison. They're already documented acting with LAPD. This is P.O.C. And Nova Contractor is going to be prosecuted for it. Hi! And they're going to be deported out of this country after that. You're free to park here. Thank you. They were documented with impossible light that filled vacant unit 1803. That was terrorism that I was documenting while they were stalking in the path in operation of a communication device, replete with what is stalking by helicopter in concert with the state, threatening my life. And again, this is the audacity of that entity, those that have been granted the privilege to be in this country, and they're here monitoring, keeping American citizens under surveillance. Let me be clear, it is the quintessential demonstration of your unworthiness to be here. I don't care if you were granted naturalization. Carol Lee, her whole demon-possessed family, and for example, these Nova Contractors employees, many of them are not natural-born citizens, by the way, and they have them in this country monitoring. This is not an inability to park. This is called demonic pacing, and LAPD is monitoring to it. This is called presence in the path. Good morning. Are you a resident here? I don't know why I've never seen you before. What unit are you in?
I'm in unit 3 over here.
Oh, you must be in the medical field. You're scrubs? Oh, good for you. Have a good day. She's monitoring. That's Title 18 and crossing path. This is group stalking and federal stalking. Everybody here is going to federal prison, and you're going to permeate the lives. So those in the medical profession, like this group stalker, she's done with the medical profession. She's literally a documented terrorist and a sex offender, and she's acting with impunity, which is grounds of federal prison, by the way. And they're acting together. And they're pacing around, maintaining presence in the laundry room, while the demon was maintaining presence in the path. Beatrice Toledo's going to federal prison, and Joan Kim is going to federal prison. Those are the ones engaged in what is so pathetic, stalking in a laundry room. And this is revealing the pathetic population that is keeping American citizens under surveillance, by the way. This is the entity that's going out of its way also to engage in what is the elements of monitoring using helicopter activity, just like I documented overnight. Well, that was actually wee hours in the morning where sex offenders do not sleep. The wicked do not get any rest, by the way, especially when they're up to no good, keeping under surveillance those that are not of that same condition. And this is what LAPD was doing. And as I documented, I'm going to pivot now because this is all related, same criminal system, but I want you to understand that these are in fact demons, and they are engaged in what is not only criminal. Their inspiration is indeed the service of Satan. They are submissive to a demonic entity, and that is Satan himself. Satan is real, I'm not going to debate whether you believe that or not. This is something that's established through evidence with regard to prosecution for the P.O.C. The P.O.C. is revealing at the same time criminal conduct underway by a corrupt government and also the practice of demonic activity, which are literally the elements of the pattern of conduct. And as I've also shown you, the entity, the demon-possessed entity, that is literally also the public entity that's acting pursuant to a demonic behavioral pattern, engages in the elements of monitoring that is crossing path, doing so with amplified audible activity using helicopter. This is what these corrupt law enforcement agencies, this is what Dominic Choi is enabling, and he is directly leading, all right? It's occurring on his watch and not ignorantly so. This is a documented pattern in the state, and this is exposing what Dominic Choi is about and what he is actually engaging in as chief of police. and they are serving Satan. They are engaged in what is domestic terrorism. They are keeping American citizens under surveillance while they serve Satan. I want to be clear, Satan hates mankind, by the way. He hates mankind, and that's also why it's directly relevant that you know not only the criminal conduct, which presents a public safety concern by virtue of the criminal conduct itself, but also as you are witnessing and analyzing, and I'm exposing the personality defect of those of this condition that show an ongoing obsession, an ongoing obsessive desire to continue to engage in it in the face of exposure, in the face of evidence, which is literally precluding the ability for this system to be secret anymore. Okay, it's not a secret. And what do you have? 20 to 30 times stalking in a helicopter in a perceptible manner by a corrupt law enforcement agency. That is showing a public safety concern. Okay, and this is, again, I'm just one person where an entity is going to act out against the population on a whole. Okay, no longer trying to conceal the fact that they're keeping you under surveillance, that they are hostile to your to your non-affiliation with that demonic entity. This is something that's informing the future. But nonetheless, what I want to speak to is 7:15 in the morning, while the entity engages in a pattern of showing hostility while engaging in the same exact elements of monitoring with real-time knowledge of everything that I'm doing physically, everything that I'm doing on a communication device, including inside of the private space, which is the sex offender that's monitoring. That is the Los Angeles Police Department. This is a department that is entirely illegitimate, so I'm only referring to them as that because that's what they are recognized as, and so that needs to be directly connected to regularly shown to be a criminal establishment. They're engaged in that which is making them a domestic enemy. They are not a legitimate police agency, and Dominic Choi is not a legitimate holder of the position of chief of police, and he's going to be removed from that position. Just like I said, while it was dark outside and the entity was stalking in a helicopter, flying in circles all around me and flying over my apartment, Dominic Choi is fired. And it's not just the fact that he's fired because domestic terrorism is occurring on his watch. Like I've stated, this is not only criminal surveillance, this is demonic activity. And while the LAPD are listening to me in the private space pray to my Lord Jesus, and I reference his name, this is also what makes these demons react and engage in the elements of monitoring. And I want to be clear, with simultaneity to my uttering the name of the Lord Jesus, the entity engages in the elements of monitoring. And I have pointed out to you, it's not only what the entity is doing, the elements of monitoring, it's where they are doing it, legally significant, and it's also the moment that they engage in it, also revealing. And it is also, as they engage in the elements of monitoring, it's not only for the criminal purpose of criminal surveillance. I've also shown you how the ongoing pattern, how it's affecting real-time operation of communication devices when you're on the internet, which is serving what the entity is doing. They are engaged in monitoring using communication devices, and they are engaged in what is federal stalking surveillance on the internet. In addition to that, I've shown you what is the demonic entity that shows hostility through engaging in those same exact elements of monitoring, which, again, I want to be clear, another vivid illustration of what is indeed demonic. The men and women of the Los Angeles Police Department, under the tutelage, under the leadership of Dominic Choi. By the way, this is revealing what Dominic Choi is inevitably and linked to and what's occurring on his watch. You're not reasonably maintaining any position that you're separate from it or that you're ignorant about it. This is a police department that is entirely subservient to Satan. This is why they're engaged in this level of terrorism. This is why you are looking at the mental illness as it's revealed the more that I speak to the reality of their criminal conduct. Their psychosis by virtue of engaging and continuing in it. And they are also exceedingly hostile to the name of the Lord Jesus Christ. And I want to make sure that I specify that. Okay, this is demonic activity as I'm walking around documenting demons who are monitoring my every step and every moment, every move that I make. That's called demonic activity, and it's criminal because it's on behalf of a corrupt government that has no constitutional basis, no probable cause, no reasonable suspicion, by the way, while you are masquerading as a law enforcement agency that's engaged in stalking and surveillance. On its face, by the way, when I'm capturing 25 to 30 times a day, that you are always around, flying over and around me by helicopter. And yes, it is also even more specific to just being around my office and my apartment. It's in the specific environment. There's a whole analytical frame base for surrounding this entity with evidence which is insurmountable and irreducible. And in addition to that, you need to know that they serve Satan. You need to know that. Okay, they are hostile to the name of the Lord Jesus, and as they are listening, invading my privacy, being sex offenders and stalking, they exhibit their hostility by amplifying helicopter activity flying directly over my apartment while they're listening to me pray to my Lord in the morning at 7:15 in the morning. So I want to make sure that I document that. That's again speaking to what is also relevant. It's not just exposure. It's not just criminal conduct that I'm exposing. Carlo Lopez is going to federal prison. He's a documented group stalker, but this is just here for preparation purposes. Today, right now, he is not in a relevant position that I have seen him to engage in the P.O.C., but he remains a part of the entity. So let me just make sure that I speak to that. Nonetheless, I want to make sure that I speak to that. It's there is a dual purpose. It's not just to prosecute. It's not just to expose. It's not just to educate and inform. It's also to reveal what you need to understand about the inspiration, the why. Okay? And it does have implications with regard to this country and the safety of American citizens, those who do not serve Satan, those who will not support companies and businesses or in any way contribute to the kingdom of darkness if you were before ignorant about it. But this is exactly what these corrupt law enforcement agencies are. This is what they're doing. This is the why as to why they're doing it. And it is literally demonstrated in the criminal system because, like I said, the pattern of conduct is criminal surveillance. It's demonic activity. It's very highly malicious, and at its core, this light activity, this light source that remains all day long, this maintenance of presence in the path, this coming up at the drop of a dime, somebody's always in the path, somebody's always there creating it, those are demons, and they're monitoring. And those are demons that are affiliated with the Los Angeles Police Department, the state of California, in other words. And the state of California is being tied to showing what is subservience, unfortunately, to Satan himself. And I want to be clear, that is a defeated posture. But like I said, like I'm speaking to not everybody and not everyone. And I want to be clear, it's not the majority by virtue of numerosity of those who serve Satan. Those on the side of the Lord Jesus represent the majority. So I also want to speak to that. But I'm letting you know, not everybody bows down to Satan. Not everyone is walking around with a spirit of darkness on them, literally engaging what is psychotic behavior while that affect manifests on a human being. And that's what you're seeing the men and women exhibit when they're group stalking. Okay, and they will be removed, and we will be permeating the lives of the entity that's acting through corrupt law enforcement agencies, because that hostility to mankind is exhibited while you are group stalking, including in the position of law enforcement. That is exhibiting cruelty to mankind. That is speaking to the threat that you pose not only to that American citizen, not only to the people of the state who you're engaging in the criminal conduct in concert with, but to those in your personal life, any children that are subject to that threat, that entity, that psychopath. And I'm referencing the entity, the LAPD, the state, these corrupt law enforcement agencies as a whole, that they pose. Okay, and this is the why as also with regard, I'm not only speaking to the problem, I'm not only exposing it, I'm giving the answer, the response. Okay, so anyway, it is currently 8:33 a.m. That's documentation of what is Nova Contractors. That's terrorism. And they are, by virtue of engaging in the elements of monitoring, by virtue of criminal presence in the path, there's not going to be any debate about, oh, we're arriving on time because we've got a schedule to come and clean the vacant unit 18044. The target individual, which is myself, the property manager, did not ask them to come and monitor me with the state. You don't have any legal grounds to engage in what is not coincidentally, but it is within the pattern of engaging in the elements of monitoring with simultaneity to what I'm doing. Those are demons working for a company, that's the people of the state, maliciously engaging in the state's P.O.C. By the way, they already documented terrorists acting with LAPD, and those two particular employees are going to federal prison. Okay, so this is impunity, not while you're arriving again to do more additional work that the target individual requested, but while you are a documented group stalker coming to pose that threat again in the face of that target individual. This isn't any work schedule. You're getting beyond the veneer now, and you're documenting malice and impunity, which is also grounds of federal prison. This is just serving the consequences for the high level of malice that this entity practices, and you're going to prosecute for that, and you don't have any legal ground to stand on. You don't have a constitutional, legally relevant argument, in other words. All right, it is currently 8:35 a.m., and this is P.O.C.